questions broken up into 2 different 3-hour sessions. And each one of those questions is scored 1 to 10.
My favorite math
so the highest possible score would be 120. And yet, despite the fact that the only students taking this thing each year are those who clearly are already pretty interested in math,
this is
the
day
median
1
score
for a
tends to
vet.
be around 1
This
or 2.
is day 1
So
for a
it's a hard
10-year
test.
guy dealing with
And
a
on
vet
each one
or
of
a
those
rookie.
sections of 6 questions, the problems tend to get harder as you go from 1 to 6. Although, of course, difficulty is in the eye.
They'll throw you right into a stone mill, right into a tread line with a kid.
Even though they're positioned as the hardest problems on a
The
famously
reality
hard
is I
test,
need to
quite
know
often, these
my
are the
own
ones with the
systems
most
when I jump on a
elegant
tread
solutions
line to
available.
find the area
Some subtle shift in
inside here to
perspective
say,
that
hey, they're in
transforms
this
them from very
quadrant
challenging
of the
to
sections,
doable.
of the
Here, I'm going to share with you
functions.
one problem that came
The
up
graph
as the
from
sixth
those
question
things are
on one
not
of these
just
tests
up,
a while
they're
back.
anti-up,
Those
because
of you
you
who
wind
follow
up
the
doing a
channel, you know
spin
that
ratio
rather than just
on
jumping
these
straight to the
particles,
solution, which in this case would be surprisingly short, when possible, I like
and
to
you get a
take the
Hubble's
time to walk
45.
you through how you
But
might
it
have
takes
stumbled across the solution
incredible
yourself, where the
levels
insight comes
of
from.
doing these
That is,
inside the
make a video
systems.
more about the
And somebody's going to give me some
problem-solving
horse
process
shit.
than about the
No, it's
problem used
not
to
those
exemplify
things.
it.
It's definitely
So anyway,
those things.
here's the question.
And I'm
If
trying
you
to bring
choose
those in.
4
I was
random
trying
points
to
on
bring
a
those
sphere
into the stone
and
mills. I
consider
was
the
trying to bring those in
tetrahedron
for
with
bass. I
these
was
points
trying
as
to bring
its
those in for
vertices,
Schaefer. I was
what
trying
is
to
the
bring those in for
probability that the
fuck
center of the
the
sphere is
Marines and
inside
the
that
AR
tetrahedron?
15-0-1,
Go ahead, take a moment and
AR
kind of digest this
670-1 for
question.
grooming. That's what's out there. I would
might
love
start
to tell
thinking
you, hey,
about
it's
which
just
of
this
these
kid's
tetrahedra
gloves
contain the
world
sphere
inside
center,
here,
which
but it's
ones
not.
don't, how you might
Right,
systematically
this point
distinguish
is
the two.
connected to this point, which is connected to this point
how
on
do you
this
even approach a
fucking
problem
globe.
like this, right? Where
There's
do you
winter
even
in
start?
Antarctica up here.
Well, it's usually a
You
good
spin
idea
it this
to think
way,
about simpler
then
cases,
you're
so
on
let's knock
New
things down to
York,
2 dimensions, where
Pennsylvania
you'll choose
border
3
for where it
random
sits
points on a
inside here for
circle,
this radiant, this
and it's always
this
helpful to name
angle on
things, so let's call
time,
these guys
0 to
P1,
1.
P2, and P3.
1 to
The question
0
is, what's the
from
probability
the
that the
operation
triangle
starting to
formed
when
by
we
these
finish it at
points
the end of the day,
contains the center of the circle?
right? And in this area, you have to generalize what this
I
shape
think you'll
is.
agree
This
it's
is a very
way
hard
easier to
math
visualize
problem.
now,
This
but it's
shape,
still a hard question.
topology
So again,
problem,
you ask, is
has
there a
to
way
be done in
simplify
general
what's going
relativity
on?
for
Get
0.
ourselves to some kind of foothold that
And
we
without
can
that
build
being
up from.
done,
Well, maybe you imagine fixing
this being
P1
done,
and P2 in place, and only
it makes you
letting
ask
that
the
third
question,
point
how
vary.
come nobody else has
And when
figured
you
it
do
out?
this, and you play around with it in
I've
your
had
mind,
managers that are
you might
electrical
notice that there's a
engineers,
special
had
region,
masters
a
in it.
certain
I've
arc,
had,
where when
and I don't
P3
just
is
mean
in that
masters, I
arc,
mean
the
by
triangle
degree.
contains the center, otherwise not.
Mathematicians, by
Specifically, if you
degree.
draw lines from P1 and P2
And then it comes
through
down
the
to some
center,
systems
these
later
lines divide
about,
up the
well, I
circle
can't
into
do
4
that. Well,
different
you
arcs.
definitely can.
And if P3
You listen to
happens to
somebody
be
and you
in the
sign a
one on
goddamn
the opposite
contract on a
side
thing, or
as
you
P1
let
and
somebody
P2,
influence
the
you
triangle has
about
the
what
center. If
nullifying
it's
the
in any
jury
of
of
the
that
other
time
arcs,
fraud
though,
work
no
fraud
luck.
case is. Because I don't necessarily push that. If I
Here's
wanted to
here
push
that
it
all
out, I
the
had
points of the
plenty of
circle
time
are
to done
equally
it on the
likely.
workforce
So
case.
what is
But
the
the reality of
probability
those two
that P3
problems
lands
is
in that
how I
arc?
stated it to begin with. There's
It's
more
the
than
length
those
of that
parts.
arc
When we
divided
get
by the
down
full
here, this problem
circumference
gets
of the circle.
very, very
The
fucking
proportion of the circle
comprehensive
this arc makes
about
up.
what happens.
So
And
what
it
is
takes
that proportion?
timelines and regimens to
Obviously,
train
that
those,
depends
not
on
just
where you
be
put
here
the
for
first
10
2
years and
points.
try to figure it
If
out
they're
the best
90
you fucking
degrees
can.
apart from each other, then the relevant arc is 1/4 of the circle.
You know, when
But
we're
if those
looking
2 points
inside
were
here,
farther
again, I
apart,
can't be
that proportion would
blockchain
be
to
something
some
closer
old
to a
schooler
half. And
that's
if they were
not
really close
doing my
together,
job,
that
that's not
proportion
in
gets
there
closer
for.
to
We're not
0.
talking about the damn blizzard
think
of
about this for a moment.
1972.
P1 and P2
We're
were
talking
chosen
about the
randomly,
blizzard,
with
the
every
snow
point on
job
the
of
circle being equally likely.
2021.
So what
Because
is
they
the
are
average
different.
size of this relevant arc?
This arc sign
Maybe
inside
imagine
here
fixing P1
is
in
calculus.
place and just considering
You know,
all
it's
the
going to
places
be
that P2 might be.
your maker or breaker
All
inside
of the
here.
possible angles between these 2 lines.
It's going to be product
every angle
line,
from
it's
0
going to be
degrees up to
system
180
standards,
degrees
figure
is
out the
equally
lineup
likely.
on those things,
So
and it's
every
all just one
proportion
straight
between
line.
0 and
But I got to figure out how to
0.5 is
untwist
equally
this
likely.
Rubik's
And
Cube,
that means that the average proportion is
figure that set out.
0.25.
It's going to be
So, if
the
average
daisy
size of this
pattern
arc
or
is a
any
quarter
other
of the full
combination
circle,
of those systems.
the
It said
average probability
it's
that
not
the
just
third point
choosing the
lands in it
daisy
is
pattern
a
here.
quarter.
If you
And that
choose
means
the
that
daisy
overall
pattern here,
probability that our triangle
it'll come
containing the
off
center is
different.
a quarter.
What do you mean it'll come out different? That is not the maximum under the zenith for what those things correlate to.
But can
But we
extend
don't. And
this
then I'll
into the
hear somebody say we
three-dimensional
don't need the
case?
zenith on those
If
things.
you
Yes, you
imagine
do.
3 out of those 4 points
Anytime
just
you
being
don't aim
fixed
for
in
those
place,
things and say, well,
each
I was
point of
doing
the
the right
sphere
thing,
and
but
the fourth
I
one
missed a step inside here, the combination of those things turns into unloading the tables with treads, right? There's a zenith to it. There's a zenith to the lines on the timeline. It doesn't matter if they're 4-footers, it doesn't matter if they're 12-footers when you're using a machine. But there's a difference.
Now what these planes do,
right? If I went at one speed for 4-footers, that was the correct speed. For the 12-footers, they would make no difference with those machines. Beep, beep.
Contain the center of the sphere, if the fourth point is in the spherical triangle on the opposite
when it comes around
side
later
as the
and you choose to ignorantly fucking make those choices for a rookie as an old schooler inside here, I'm going to have no mercy, none, inside of that system. It's going to come off here. Not in a time fraud, work fraud case, but in this court. Basketball, Bluestone, the Masons games, or Dr. Fundertainment busting out cards for the situation. This plus this plus this equals what? Now, I'm sure most of those old schoolers are going to survive it. A lot of the business owners, they're going to survive it because I'm outnumbered. Pretty straightforward and simple. Job, get me in containment. Get me inside of those systems. Now, they're still playing with this because they didn't do a review. Or they did do a review. And they don't. They let other things do the system inside here. I cannot let other people have lead over me anymore because they make shitty decisions.
They made the problem a lot easier to think about. And in general, whenever you've added
it makes the problem a lot easier to think about, but in the long run about it, you're going to wonder where all this pressure and stress is coming from. You can put it on the ground in front of you, and that rock can know exactly how heavy it is, and carry it across that floor on 3-footers and 4-footers.
Start by saying,
or you can watch that bay go car bomb on you and just explode constantly, lose it on the turnovers for those things, which are not consistent one fucking bit. How do I know? Tompkins, Delaware Basin, Double Axe Stone Supply, figuring out the floor schematics, the matrix of pattern switch-offs inside of here. It winds up being from pattern to treads. I'm going to have to take everything out here. Every time. Not some of it. The only thing that stays is the pattern recuts from treads, because I can cut those right then and there because I know the skill set. This is what happens. And then those pattern calcs go out something different. At some point in time, regardless of orders, you just can't keep packing fucking orders in there. You have to be able to fucking move that product. It takes time. It takes a day to clear all that stuff back out. But otherwise, you're trying to put 2 fucking operations inside of there on the same damn day, and what happens? Oh, but that's where that pressure is. It's not where that pressure is. That's unnecessary pressure that you're putting in there because of fucked up timelines. The hardest math problem on the hardest test. I'll tell you something about Berkeley. The integration of infinity hot, infinity cold, infinity large, infinity small.
The answer 1/4 popped out in a very different way from how it did before.
Over 2021.
This style of argument
minus x for the bracket. This would be x. They switch in any position. Could be general relativity. Could be stone mill. Could be stone mill's general relativity correlated to a map of the index and the multiple matrix of that system. I don't know which order that comes in. This multiple matrix is masked out way past what some kid needs until it's time that they actually are there. Otherwise, it's not done. And then you would go, well, general relativity is stone mill. Here's the form. I need a form. Got to be in 5x8. Simple enough. Simple enough. That's where I need you to quantify this to. 5x8 piece of paper or whatever quantifies M1 5x8. Could be an 11x12. Could be bigger or smaller. As long as the company's fucking cool with that. It says that's what that needs to be. Safety standards, chemical reports for the OSHA worker about whiteout and oil and hydraulic fluid in the eyes. That's what those forms have to fucking look like. It's what those product lines have to correlate to. You know, there's other safety things besides just things that'll burn you, things that'll bite you, things that'll chemically burn you or some other system. We have long game problems on the human body. What the fuck it is being human means.
Is almost a separate muscle entirely. One that undergraduate.
But it has safety problems with old schoolers and young schoolers. What's the reaction? Well, what are the standards reaction? Either they're going to get along great, might be marginal for a while on an operator, or they are not going to fucking work.
Just keep asking simpler.
Right off the hop on the momentum of the trajectory. Does anybody come in there and do anything to renormalize that system? Because that would be the safety standard, wouldn't it?
See if you can reframe.
That's why I called it the Mason's contract. Just a general relativity fucking math problem, nothing more. You signed an X on this when you decided to work next to me, or you decided to fucking hire me. From now on, side here, I don't care. You are my apprentice, I am your apprentice. Brother, I am your keeper, and you are my keeper in this tune.
Don't have somebody cheating off of their test.
Now, maybe y'all don't take it serious because you don't get why it's important. The same reason you don't get general relativity.
Right? Brilliant.org is a site where you can practice your problem-solving abilities with questions like this and
you know,
many more.
These are reactions that are mathematically quantifiable. What do you mean? How do I know that that's what that is? Do it! If you don't have the fucking form, you can't fucking figure out the trajectory on those things. If I can't say, obviously they'll work, obviously they won't work, or they are in some operation where it's like, well, it doesn't really, I'm not really sure if it's working or not working. It seems like it's marginally one way or the other. How do you then go in there and check that thing? Because that would be the trajectory on that. That would be the momentum. That would be the velocity. That would be single variable calculus, multiple variable calculus, Euler's number inside here, England's value for what these things turn into, or any other standard. They're all math problems there, right? Bernoulli's, let's put, instead of England value in here, the stone mill, and generalize it off of that math problem. There's multiple matrix of those systems. And I need to know what commonly happens there. Because that commonly happens inside of there, repetitively. Maybe not perfectly under the standards of that's what that output's going to be, but it sure shit starts that way. Then it turns into a thing, but I can tell you from that start in general relativity what those things are about. Gotta fucking step it up.